Decades ago, dog teams forged a link between frozen Canadian communities by carrying the mail through some of the toughest conditions on Earth. Today on Top Dogs, the tradition continues. Welcome to MacArthur Park in beautiful Lac La Biche, Alberta. We're here for the mail run. I'm Al Stafford alongside color commentator Lisa Palachuk. A mail run, a weekend of 10-dog and 6-dog sled racing and some special events as well, all surrounding the 9th annual Mail Run Days. We'll have more background on that a little bit later on in the program, but before we get there, let's take a look at some of the top dog challengers we'll be seeing this Sunday afternoon. David Hockman is racing behind a couple of 6-year-olds by the name of HARLEY and WILBUR. Jim DeCoff is in the field from North Armstrong, British Columbia. Jim Bartlett has a couple of 2-year-olds as his leaders out of a small kennel of 20 to 30 dogs. Michael Salvesberg is racing behind Gus and Peanut, 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds respectively. Fort Nelson Canadian Open champ Kevin Cook is here with Daggett and Tetley as his leaders. Tetley is 9 years old, by the way. Sarah Streeper, a 19-year-old racer, is here. Her lead dogs are both 5 years old. In the 6-dog sprint category, Jennifer Peebles races behind Spotty and Trigger. Scott Howie racing here out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Charlie Odegaard comes to us from Flagstaff, Arizona. He'll be using Amigo and Cowboy as his lead dogs today. Doug Ebert racing behind a couple of 4-year-olds named Toby and Lisa out of Broderick, Saskatchewan. Murray McGonigal's leaders, Coffee and Skunk, are both 5-year-olds. And Hans Reitz races out of Rocky Mountain House, Alberta behind Maxie and AC. Tough conditions out there today with wind blowing across that race course. Let's take a look at the physical layout of this course, Lisa.
Yeah, this is a 10-mile run that's going to go out onto the lake through a series of curves. It's going to then reach the half point and double back on itself. That doubling back is going to present problems for some of the younger dogs. They'll easily get distracted by teams passing them going the opposite direction. The wind is also going to present quite a bit of a challenge for the dogs. At dog level, the visibility and drifting snow is going to present some difficulties in seeing where the course actually takes them.
The Fiddler's Jamboree, just one of the many events taking place here this weekend at Lac La Biche. There are historical displays and outdoors. There's everything from a skidoo poker rally to horse sled rides in MacArthur Park. And Lisa, this is a great event, not just for the racers, but for their families as well.
Oh, it's a wonderful weekend for the families to get out together and enjoy the outdoors. People are really having a lot of fun with this little gaffer, catching a ride on top of a dog instead of behind it.
The mail run has some historical significance to the area as well.
We had started this race 9 years ago, and we're basing it on the facts that they used to deliver mail through Lac La Biche by dog team. We still have the teams coming from all over the place to Lac La Biche, so it is, it's historically significant.
The mushers awoke to cloudy, overcast conditions on Saturday, a light snow falling as well. The good news was there wasn't as much wind as we're seeing today. Lisa, what was it like for the drivers yesterday in those conditions?
Well, the snow falling does create a little bit of a problem for the mushers to see. They need to wear goggles in order to clearly see the course ahead of them.
Now here's what the course looks like from the fans' perspective. We showed you the graphic earlier. That's one of the great things about this MacArthur Park layout is from the banks of the lake, you can actually see the whole course spread out before you. There's Jim DeCoff you're looking at now. He's passing Sarah Streeper, who's pulled over to the side. We're taking a look at Saturday's race action now. That's Charlie Odegaard's team, and he lost a little time here, Lisa, when he had to stop the team for a couple of seconds to correct a problem. It's not that uncommon, though, to see a racer stop his team, is it?
No, it's not uncommon. It's obviously not desirable because they're going to lose a bit of time. He may have had a tangled dog, and who knows.
Here at the finish line, that's Jim DeCoff's team crossing the finish line, led by Quinn and Fancy, his leaders. Sarah Streeper right behind as a result of a pass that we saw a little bit earlier out on the race course. So 37-year-old Jim DeCoff, the class of the field on Saturday, 43 seconds ahead of Orville Peterson. A battle for third place between Kevin Cook and Charlie Odegaard. Cook just 1 second ahead of the fourth place finisher. Now racers 7 through 12 have their work cut out for them if they want to crack the top 6 because they are 2 to 4 minutes behind the leaders going into Sunday's action. So leader Jim DeKoff will be the first to challenge this windy course here on this Sunday. Once again, he's led by Quinn and Fancy, 5 and 3 years old respectively, and DeKoff says he has an awful lot of respect for the other racers in this field.
Kevin Cook, the Cook family from Saskatchewan, they've been cleaning up, a lot of races. They're pretty strong competitors, so it's going to be tough against those guys, but we'll do our best. And the Streepers, Terry Streeper and his daughter Sarah are here this weekend, so Terry's a world champion worldwide, so we're kind of good that we're up there.
Still, Jim DeKoff deserves the place he earned on Saturday, Lisa. He's got an awfully strong team in front of him.
He does have a very strong team in front of him. They're quite experienced, having run the 6 and 10 dog class in Falkland, BC this winter.
Orville Peterson is next out, and he runs a single lead dog. Laser's so strong, Laser doesn't need to run with a partner. Peterson, though, is concerned about today's weather conditions.
It's going to be a little, I don't know, not too bad to run if it don't get too windy, eh? But if we get them finger drifts, it's going to be lots of fun. If they're hard enough, the dogs can get over them, we'll be all right too. But if the dogs start sinking in them, it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, we'll see how those finger drifts do affect Orville today out on the course. Finger drifts are just literally fingers of snow drifting across the track, and with the wind so strong out on an open lake, it can present quite a bit of problems for the dogs.
So Orville Peterson and his team head into the first turn.
That's not the first turn. Oh no, that's one of the problems of running just a single lead dog.
Well, we'll get them to sort that out, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Well, there's Orville Peterson out on the race course now, and obviously he solved that problem he had off the first turn with the wrong turn by his lead dog, so he's up and running. Let's take you back to the starting line now. Kevin Cook will be next out on the race course behind Daggett and the 9-year-old Tetley. Cook racing from Priestville, Saskatchewan.
Our dogs like to be able to run fast, and this trail is maybe going to be a little bit tougher, so it could be a little bit of movement out there today among the teams.
Yeah, the wind and the tightness of the course are going to certainly present some difficulties for teams out there today. We'll see how Kevin's team manages. He does tend to like a straighter course.
A running start for Kevin Cook, and he's trying to put some distance between himself and Charlie Odegaard, the next starter. Odegaard, as you remember, just 1 second behind Cook after Saturday. And Charlie Odegaard runs with a yearling, basically, as one of his lead dogs.
Yesterday I had all kinds of problems, just 3/4 of a mile from the finish. I would have won this race last year, and I'm going to come back and try to win it today.
Now we'll see how the yearling manages out there today. That's a young dog to have on the lead.
Precious is the 1-year-old, maybe the 4-year-old. And Charlie Odegaard is off the starting line as well. And another quick start, which is not that uncommon, the wind not affecting many of the racers at the start line. Next up is Sharon Stearns from Dunster, British Columbia, behind Kelly and Squeak. Kelly is 7, Squeak is 6 years old.
My plan is to just get around as clean as possible. It's kind of windy out there, so I hope I can use my sled as a sail.
A clean run is what's going to make a big difference for some of these teams out here today. A clean run means no mistakes. They run the course nice and smoothly, they don't miss any turns, and they bring it back in to the finish.
See the focus in Sharon Stearns' eyes there. She eyes the first turn on this course. She gets away as well. Tamara Colley will be the next racer out on the course, and Tamara is running behind a borrowed team of dogs. She borrowed them from her father, Jim Harvey.
Just want to make it around smooth and safe, not hurt any dogs. We got a long winter ahead of us, so good. Just want to keep everybody happy and get around.
It's interesting that Tamara only races once a year. She's a hometown girl from Lac La Biche, and now she stays at home and breeds and raises boxers.
So Tamara Colley is away, and as she heads towards the first turn, we're going to take you out to our cameras on the race course and give you an update on what some of the leaders are doing on this windy, sunny afternoon. There's Jim DeKoff, and his team is running steady and smooth.
Well, they look really good out there on the course, all running in unison together. That should give him a good time today.
DeKoff is trying to stay ahead of Kevin Cook. That's Cook's team there, and he's running a single dog in the third set of dogs on the string.
He is running a single dog in the middle. He's obviously dropped a dog out of the race from yesterday, but I'm not sure why.
Charlie Odegaard's team there, and running just about as steady as the other two that we've seen on the course so far. Back at the start line, that's Dave Hockman's team out of St. Malo, Manitoba. And Hockman is running behind a couple of 6-year-olds by the name of HARLEY and WILBUR. And, of course, he's looking to move up in the field today.
I got a lot of yearlings this is my second team is in a 10 dog, so what I'm trying to do is get them the experience and the exposure so that hopefully they can make the main team for next year.
Well, Hockman's team ran pretty well on Saturday despite that inexperience. We'll see if that's going to be a factor in the second day of this mail run event.
Yeah, Dave has quite a bit of experience. He's been racing now for 20 years.
Hockman gets away clean, and that brings to the starting line Jim Bartlett out of Fort Nelson, BC. And Bartlett has a connection to Hockman's team because his leader, Rocky, was actually purchased out of Dave Hockman's kennel.
I'm kind of just an amateur at this, so it'd just be nice to sort of maybe place in the money. But it's very tight. There's just seconds between me and the guy behind me and the guy behind him. And I'm just seconds behind the guy in front of me. So a lot of things can change.
Yeah, Jim's a teacher in Fort Nelson, and it's very tough to be competitive when you're running a kennel as a hobby. The other mushers are running them as a full-time job, and they're out there every day training and racing their dogs.
Still great to see the hobby mushers out here getting a little bit of experience as well. Jim Bartlett gets away clean and heads into that first turn. Back out on the race course, there's Sharon Stearns out of Dunster, British Columbia, and team running steady. This is Orville Peterson's team, and that's a great camera shot there down low, and you can see just how quickly Peterson has his team moving at the moment. Tamara Cawley down in that nice tuck in front of her team. Obviously, the wind is a bit of a factor out there for Tamara. Back at the start line, Michael Salvesberg, a 42-year-old out of Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, will be running behind Gus and Peanut today. Gus is 2, Peanut 4 years old.
And his dogs are really keen and ready to go. They're quite excited about getting out onto the race course today.
Got a bit of a tangle on his string. It looks like he's got it all sorted out, and he quickly rushes back to get behind the sled.
And look at them bouncing in the harnesses. Away they go. It's interesting to note that Michael also runs a dog sled tour business up in the territories.
Salvesberg gets down into that crouch to avoid the wind. We go to our next starter now, Joel Arthurs, a local boy out of Lac La Biche, Alberta. He's just 18 years old. Trixie and Jinx are his lead dogs, and Lisa, they look almost identical.
They do look almost identical. They might even be brother and sister. They are 3 and 4 years old, respectively.
Arthurs is away. He elects to stand up right now rather than get down in that crouch to avoid the wind. Sarah Streeper will be next out on the course. 2 5-year-olds leading her team, Gypsy and Buck.
Now, despite Gypsy's cross-eyed appearance, it has no effect on her out there on the course. And Sarah herself has quite a bit of experience. She's been racing for 16 years.
That's amazing because she's only 19 years old. And she was North American Rookie of the Year, and she is away from the starting gate. And that brings us to our last starter of the afternoon, Larry Craig, who runs out of Crooked Creek, Alberta, behind the lead dogs, Ginger and Sage.
Ginger and Sage are both 3 years old. It's interesting to note that Larry is a professional chuck wagon driver in the summer, and he's only been racing dogs for the last 5 years.
I think Larry's basically here just for the experience now. He's about 6 full minutes behind the leaders as he heads out onto the race course. Let's give you an update on some of the racers. That's Michael Salvesberg's team, and it looks like wind is still a big factor out there.
Yeah, Michael's in that crouch position trying to get as aerodynamic as possible for his team, just to help them out a bit.
There's Saturday's leader, Jim DeKoff, still running very smooth.
He's smooth, and boy, he's fast. He looks really good out on the course.
DeKoff trying to extend his lead, and there's Jim Bartlett, and we're going to take a short commercial break here, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with more coverage from MacArthur Park in Lac La Biche. Well, the dancers stay warm inside MacArthur Place as the Fiddle Jamboree continues. Outside on the race course, the mushers doing a dance with that devilish wind here on this Sunday afternoon. And we'll give you an update. This is Orville Peterson, and his team is stopped.
He actually looks like he's off course right now. He's started again. We'll see how he goes.
I have no idea what the problem was there, but the sled comes up over the rise. He's back on the race course now, and around that turn.
Oh, no, and he's over. That's terrible. He's hanging onto the sled, which is good because he won't lose the team. This can be a real problem with a single lead. It puts a lot of pressure on the dog when he's all by himself up front. A
nasty spill for Orville Peterson. This is Dave Hockman, and Dave's team is running steady. Not overly fast, but pretty smooth.
Yeah, a clean run here could make the difference between first and last. Fast is not always important.
That's Tamara Cawley, and as she makes her way around the home course, we're going to take a moment and show you Lac La Biche and the area surrounding this race course at MacArthur Park.
There is no place like Lac La Biche in the wintertime. Absolutely the best place. In fact, I never go on a winter holiday anymore because I don't want to miss this best part.
There's always lots to do, like curling and fishing, and this is sort of a challenge.
Our lake comes alive in the winter, and with all our dog sledders that are here, and it makes the lake a part of our community, a part of our town. We're all one in intermingling with the lake.
There's lots of little hamlets, lots of communities around the lake where people live all year round around the lake, as well as people that have cottages, summer cottages and that. We have wild orchids that are, we were told that they're only available in this area of Alberta. So it's just some beautiful, beautiful scenery in the summer and in the winter. There's a thriving community. People work in town, but they live out in the lake.
We have a number of things that we do on the lake from the dog sleds to the ice racing with cars, and we have loppets with ski loppets. Oh, there's so much to do here. It's incredible.
It's a beautiful lake in the summertime. It's a shallow lake, but very, very beautiful.
It seems to be really friendly. The organization is really low key and a lot of fun. Everyone seems to have a lot of fun out here.
We're just a small community of 3,000, 3,500 people, and we've got such a big heart. We're small, but we've got a big heart.
It's the first time I've been here, but it's really nice.
The history of this community, I mean, it goes back 200 years. David Thompson came onto our shores. The beauty in the area that he's written in his journals, well, it is beautiful here. So, hey, people, come and visit if you want to, because it's wonderful.
I can't say enough about how well the people of Lac La Biche treated us. There's Jim DeCoff, the leader, going past our camera location. And here's a battle between, that's Kevin Cook in front, and in behind is Charlie Odegaard.
Look at that wind. It's howling out there today. That's got to be really tough for them to stay on course.
The driver's leaning over actually to the left on their sleds to try to counterbalance against that wind. It looks like Odegaard is setting up to make a pass of Kevin Cook here as they near a turn.
Yeah, and there he goes. He's going to start to pass. And you see Kevin's actually going to slow his team down just a little bit to allow the other team to pass him. These are part of the rules for sled dog racing. You must allow the other team to pass, and then they'll go on. Now Kevin is not allowed to pass Charlie again for, I believe it's a quarter of a kilometer.
Odegaard gets his team back into high gear. You know, these mushers are just out here for fun, but few Canadians realize just how important sled dogs were to the development of Canada.
I think the beauty of our mail run, it's authentic in every way. You know, dogs have been very much part of the life, the economy of this community. When we speak of the early fur traders, the image that invariably comes to mind are the canoes. The dog sleds played the same important role for the early fur traders and explorers in the winter that the canoes did for them in the summer. There was a bond between the musher, the trapper, and his animals. The first thing they did before they, made camp, or after they made camp, feed the dogs, look after the dogs.
We go back to a long time. When there was 4 people in Edmonton, there was 400 people in Lac La Biche, and that's a fact.
See, in 1908, the federal government entered into a contract to have the mail delivered north during the winter, and the only means of transportation they had were the dog teams. This, of course, is a map of Canada, and here's Lac La Biche, just at the tip of the key here. And the route that they followed would be more or less north to Fort McMurray, north along the Athabasca River to Fort Chipewyan, further north to Fort Smith, along the Slave River, ultimately to Fort Resolution, which is on the south shore of Great Slave Lake.
Up here, like the dog team at one time was pretty much the main mode of transportation in the wintertime. And the winters are long up here, you know that.
You'll see the racing dogs. They're sleek, blue-eyed, but very, very sleek, Look at the size of these. These are work dogs. Just like if you're into horses, the difference between, say, a racehorse and a Clydesdale or a Percheron, you know, the big, or Belgian, one of those big horses.
Dog mushing doesn't get the credit that it deserves because it's one of the truest and oldest Canadian sports there is, you know. And a lot of people might argue that it's not a sport, but they obviously haven't done it.
Back out to the race course now, updating our competitors. That's Jim Bartlett running out of Fort Nelson, BC, and looks to have his team in cruise mode.
They do. They must have the wind at their back in this shot here.
There's Sarah Streeper's team. You can tell by the Canadian flag at the front of that sled.
And look at the crosswind here. It's really affecting the dogs. You see they're fighting themselves to just stay in a straight line. It's really making it tough out there.
Brutal conditions at times on this race course. The 6-dog sled race is coming up in just a couple of minutes. We're going to take a short break here in Lac La Biche. Oh, clean off the camera lens. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the mail run from MacArthur Park in Lac La Biche, Alberta. And wow, the wind has really picked up here. I can't even tell who that is. Lisa, do you have any idea?
No, it's really difficult right now. That wind is just howling out there.
As you can see, competitors running all over the course. They stagger the starts here. That's Tamara Cawley running on her home course in Lac La Biche.
And you see the wind is picking up and throwing the snow around on them.
Sarah Streeper rounding a turn.
She's doing really well right now. She looks like her sled's in good control.
And back at the finish line, the fans have gathered and they're waiting now for the first competitors to come across. And here coming around that last turn is Jim DeKoff. He was Saturday's leader.
He looks really smooth. Look at the dogs. They're all in unison. That is great. He's going to have a good time today.
Crosses the finish line in 32 minutes and 57 seconds. That's actually a little bit slower than his time from Saturday. No doubt the wind playing a factor. Here comes Charlie Odegaard crossing the finish line. 31 minutes, 48 seconds. Kevin Cook couldn't catch him. He comes in just behind, though, and he finishes the Sunday run in a time of 33 minutes and 52 seconds. I think Kevin will be a little disappointed with that finish overall. This is Orville Peterson. He's finally got that team running smoothly, and he's going to cross the finish line much better than the way he started today. He'll be disappointed with that time, though. 39 minutes and 16 seconds. That drops him well back in the field. Now that looks like Dave Hockman, and he's pumping that sled hard, trying to buy a few extra seconds from his team. And here is Jim Bartlett now. Bartlett gets back down in that crouch.
Again, the wind is really creating a lot of havoc for them out there.
You can see how bad it is rounding that turn. Completely snow-covered now. Sharon Stearns getting ready to cross the finish line. Her team's running a little slower than some of the others that we've seen. Stern finishing 34 minutes and 15 seconds. Not a bad Sunday for her. Right behind Stearns, this is Tamara Cawley.
Tamara looks like she's doing well right in here. Kicking again, trying to get a few extra seconds in the finish.
She'll be happy with that. 34 minutes and 6 seconds for Tamara Cawley this afternoon. And here comes Dave Hockman.
Dave's doing well here. He's had some good, strong finishes in the last couple of races. He's been placing in the top 6, so we'll see if he manages to keep that placing today.
34 minutes and 59 seconds, 29 seconds slower than his finish yesterday. And Jim Bartlett headed towards the finish line now. Bartlett looking to improve on his time from Saturday, and he does. 35:28 today. Bartlett ran 35:37 yesterday. Another look at the fans there, waiting for other finishers to come.
Geez, this wind is really brutal out there today. Look how it's pushing the dogs around.
And we're looking at a crosswind. That's Michael Salvesberg and his team, by the way. You can only imagine what this would be like for the mushers and their teams running right into a headwind. And there's Sarah Streeper around the final turn as she heads for the home stretch.
Yeah, her dogs are looking really good through here, finishing up.
Streeper finishes in a time of 35 minutes and 36 seconds. She's a little bit faster than she was on Saturday. She'll be happy with that. Behind Streeper, this is Joel Arthurs. And look at how spread out his team is here at the end.
Dogs are obviously quite distracted by something along the sidelines there.
He doesn't look happy at all. He crosses in a time of 39 minutes and 10 seconds. That's over 3 minutes slower than he was on Saturday. He won't be pleased with that at all.
No, he must have had some difficulty out on the course today.
Our next finisher, and this is Larry Clegg. And Clegg is rounding that final turn. His team running much more smoothly than than Joel Arthur's team was.
Yeah, not doing too badly. They're coming in nicely in the finish.
36 minutes and 53 seconds for Larry Clegg, and a big improvement over yesterday. He was 38:21 yesterday. Larry Clegg will probably be pleased with that finish. And here's the leaderboard from day 2, and despite the wind, Charlie Odegaard, 31 minutes and 48 seconds. That's the fastest time posted over the 2 days on this course. Jim DeKoff, 1 minute and 9 seconds off the pace. As you see, Orville Peterson, 7 minutes and 28 seconds. Let's hear now from today's winner, Charlie Odegaard.
Had an excellent run. The dogs did really well. I was real proud of my dogs. My leaders were perfect, and they followed the trail, and they were fast enough. And all the other dogs, they worked real hard. So they did excellent.
I just got slower today. There's a bunch of pups on here that given a chance to get a run on them. They did good.
So the winner overall in the 10-dog race here at the Mail Run, Jim DeKoff, finishing in a time of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 19 seconds over the 2 days. Charlie Odegaard made a run at it, but he was 11 seconds slower. Kevin Cook finishing third, 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 33 seconds. And of course, after a great run, you've got to give your dogs a great meal. There's Jim DeKoff and his wife Vicky now feeding the team that won him the title here at the Mail Run in Lac La Biche.
There was a lot of snow, a lot of drifts, and they just blasted through it. Couldn't be prouder of those dogs.
Big smile on the face of Jim DeKoff, obviously very pleased with the results in the 10-dog event. He'll be back in the 6-dog event as well. The 6-dog sleds are just getting set now to go to the starting line. Let's take a look at the 6-mile course here.
This course is a little shorter than the 10-mile event. It does snake its way out and then comes back on itself. Again, the westerly crosswinds could be a big factor in today's race.
And here's the leaderboard from day 1. Scott Howie with an 8-second advantage over Doug Ebert and Hans Reitz. Very tight at the top there. Jennifer Peebles just 31 seconds off the pace after day 1. And Charlie Odegaard, one of 3 mushers who ran in both the 10-dog and the 6-dog. He's 46 seconds back of the leaders at the moment. There's the rest of the field as they get set for day 2. And there is Saturday's leader, Scott Howie, getting his team to the start line here. Howie, a 38-year-old, racing out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, behind the lead dogs of Delvin and Popeye. And Howie compares the conditions today to yesterday.
It's going to be interesting, though. I think the trail is going to be faster in terms of the surface, but when you're going into the wind, it's going to be a difficult pull.
Notice the ice underneath the dogs' feet. It's a very shallow snowpack out on the lake today, and that's going to play a role in their footing.
Scott Howie's job today is to try to extend the 8-second lead he built up yesterday. He's away clean, and he's away fast. Chasing him is Doug Ebert from Broderick, Saskatchewan, behind a couple of 4-year-old lead dogs. And Ebert says that there's a slim margin for error out there today.
In a 10-dog race, you got 10 miles, you got a little more time to make up for a tangle or something like that. But in a short 4 or 6 mile race, you lose that 10 or 15 seconds if you have any kind of a trouble, and there goes my first position down to about 3rd or 4th, just right there.
Doug Ebert's been knocking on the door all year. He placed 2nd in the Fort Nelson in both the 4 and 6-dog categories. So we'll see whether or not he can make up that time on Scott Howie. And of course, he's being chased as well by Hans Reitz from Rocky Mountain House, who tied Ebert in terms of overall time on Saturday. Reitz is running behind Maxie and AC, a couple of 3-year-old Alaskan Huskies. And he was introduced to the sport in Germany, but he moved to Canada specifically to compete.
His whole family is involved in this. His wife Marietta is a handler, and his daughter races as well. One of his dogs is wearing a jacket. They have a really short coat on the Alaskans, and sometimes they need some extra help in the cold weather.
There are 4 people holding on to Hans Reitz's sled right now. He's got to run to keep up with his excited team. They're away very quickly. You see, there's more than one way to get around on a sled. We'll take a short break here, and then we will continue with the start of the 6-dog sled race from Lac La Biche. Welcome back to Top Dogs from Lac La Biche, where it's mail run days. And we're in the midst of the 6-dog sled race start. Our next competitor is 16-year-old Jennifer Peebles, running behind Spotty and Trigger, 2 lead dogs she says were a real key to her success on Saturday.
Having good leaders like I do. We stayed on the trail all the way around, and so many people had leader problems, turning around and going the wrong way and getting off the trail, that I was really thankful that I had a good set of leaders that listened really well.
She'll certainly need a good set of leaders today as well if she wants to make up the time. She's only 31 seconds behind the leader. We've got a camera on board her sled as well this afternoon, so you'll be able to see some great shots from Jennifer Peebles' team actually out on the race course.
Jennifer placed first last year in the 6-dog race in Canmore. She's in that crouched position as we've seen so many mushers get into today. And here we see a great view from the camera mounted on the sled. You notice the 2 wheel dogs are now on the one side of the tug line. Eventually they'll probably sort that out and get themselves on either side of the tug line. It won't be a significant factor for her today.
Jennifer races along with her father, Rob Peebles, who's a pretty good racer in the open class, and we sent a camera along to see what life is like on the road with a musher.
Yeah, getting ready to leave again, eh? This is Woody. This is our main dog right here. Let's go. 4 to 5 months a year we're on the road. Basically, the truck becomes our home. And hopefully everything we need right here on the truck. That and a credit card. I'm a truck driver. I'm a veterinarian. I'm a feed man. I figure as far as racing goes, it's mental is 50%, physical is the other 50%. So. We do spend a lot of time, and they are a huge part of my life, and it's not a small part. It's a 24-hour-a-day part. I think about them, I dream about them. They're just like my kids. It's a big joke in our family, who comes first.
I don't have any dog jokes. Brian did all those for you. I have an extra puppy at home if anybody wants one.
We don't necessarily like being on the road, but we sure like going to the races because it's just a big fraternity. The people are fantastic. That's for us another 50% of the sport is all the people at the races, all your friends. It's a 24-hour-a-day job, really. If you hear somebody's truck start, or if you hear a dog bark or whatever, it's just like a kid you're sleeping with, the one ear open there to make sure that everything's fine. You're worried about them all the time. I'm on black, you're on white. Most days we're usually awake around 6 o'clock. It's all set up top here, right here. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and it's just great to go on the road with her. And we make that special bond when we're on the road. It's fantastic.
Because of school, haven't been able to go to any races this year, and it's my first, so my dad's been taking my team around, and he's been doing a great job. I'm really happy to get them.
The way I look at it is there's 2 things that opened up this country, dog team and canoe, and it's part of Canadian heritage. Well, we go back to the room and put our feet up, have a cup of coffee. I got my dogs, my family, and my friends all together every weekend. Not everybody can say that, so I'm pretty lucky.
It's quite a unique lifestyle, and they're very lucky to be able to live out their dream.
Charlie Odegaard making some final preparations to his string of dogs. He's running behind the lead dogs, Amigo and Cowboy, in the 6-dog sled race. And Charlie Odegaard did very well in the 10-dog race earlier today. He's looking, though, to take that first place prize in this 6-dog event.
And Charlie's changed his lead dogs from day 1 to day 2. He's now running Cowboy in lead instead of Dunn. We'll see if that helps him out today or not.
He's away clean. Charlie Odegaard keeping his face completely covered up against that wind as he heads out towards the first turn and onto the course. Here's an update now of a couple of racers on the course. That's Scott Howie, your leader from Saturday, and his dog's a nice, even, smooth style at the moment. And here behind Scott Howie is Doug Ebert. Now, Ebert's trying to close the gap. He was 8 seconds behind, after his start on Saturday, and he's looking to make up the difference now on Scott Howie this afternoon.
Again, look at that wind and how much it's blowing across with the snow.
Now that's Jennifer Peebles in race bib 17, and this is a look from our camera on board her sled as her team continues to try to make up time on the leaders from Saturday. Next at the start line is 17-year-old Matthew Chachka. He's running behind the lead dogs of Moron and Erebus, and Chachka says he has a lot of confidence in his animals on this course.
On a trail like this, she'll have no problem. She can look at all the pieces of wood on the side and pick out the trail, and she can also look at the paw prints and find it. So I won't have any problem with going off the trail because of all the drifting.
Now, Matthew's dogs are aged 4 and 8 respectively, 8-year-old being a bit older for racing nowadays. You see, he's only running 5 dogs today. He must have dropped a dog for injury reason.
Next at the start line is 77-year-old Gunnar Odegaard. He's running behind the lead dogs Mercury and Sheila, 5-year-old and 4-year-old respectively, and he's got a long history in this sport. He used to mush way back in the 40s, back in his native country of Norway.
I come from Norway in 1952, and underneath the war I drove ambulance for the Red Cross because we were occupied after Germans and we couldn't have no gathering or nothing. So, but as soon as the war was over, I switched over to racing.
Great pictures from the old country. It looks like this one was taken at a parade some years ago.
It's quite an interesting rig that he has pulling the cart, and you'll notice that those are German Shepherds that he's got pulling it.
Gunnar Odegaard back at the start line now, and he's away clean. Odegaard wants to stay in competition so that he can make it into the 10th annual Mail Run next year in Lac La Biche. Next on the start line, Jim DeKoff, our winner in the 10-dog sled race earlier today. He's running behind Magic and Jay now, a 3- and 5-year-old.
They're quite a bit calmer than some of the other dogs that we've seen out on the course. Jim will be running 6 different dogs than he ran on the 10-dog course. Obviously, they'd be too tired to be able to compete in 2 races in one day. You notice the ice under their feet. That's got to be really difficult to get a good start at the beginning.
And he'd like to make it a double. He won the 10-dog 10-mile event. Let's see how he does in the 6-dog 6-mile event this afternoon. Our final starter here is Murray McGonigal from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. He's wearing race bib number 55, and he's running behind a pair of 5-year-olds, Coffee and Skunk.
Coffee's been an exceptional lead dog for Murray over the years. He has a kennel of approximately 35 dogs, which is a fairly small kennel for some of these mushers.
And Murray McGonigal is away. You can hear him barking instructions to Coffee, and he's got to run to keep after his sled as well and make sure he catches up to his dogs. And let's take a look now at some of the other competitors out there on the course. This is Hans Rietz, and his team is running very smoothly and very quickly at the moment.
Yes, they're really running nicely, and he's got one of those nice fancy sleds as well.
Jennifer Peebles rounding the corner. You can see where the snow is piled up there, all of the drifting that we've seen today.
Again, you notice they've got their goggles down to also help with the wind.
And there's another look from Jennifer's sled, and we can see that her dogs continue to run very smoothly, but I'm guessing it's probably getting more difficult to pick out the course now because of all that drifting you can see on the left.
Yeah, quite a bit more difficult for the dogs to pick out the difference between the actual course and the lake itself as the drifts build up.
This is Charlie Odegaard, and he's desperately trying to get a few extra seconds out of his team. His team looks to be running pretty strong right now. He was 46 seconds behind the leader going into today's event. And that's Matthew Chachka. He's a minute 47 off the pace now. He's also trying to make up ground and hopefully crack the top 3. We'll give you a full update on the leaders in just a couple of minutes. This is Top Dogs from Lac La Biche.
Well, they brought the mail out here, so it's kind of like we're just doing the same thing, except we're doing it for fun.
A bit of an education for youngsters like Matthew Chachka here in the 9th annual Mail Run at Lac La Biche, and there's a look at Chachka's 5-dog team on the course.
And Matthew's still in that crouched position, trying to take advantage of being as aerodynamic as possible to help out his dogs.
Very important today with all of the wind, and you can see how the wind is affecting this team here. This is Charlie Odegaard, and again, he's down in the crouch, face completely covered up.
Yeah, and the dogs are having to punch through a fair bit of drifting snow as they go along through the course.
And this is Jennifer Peebles now, and remember, we've got a camera on her sled. She's shouting instructions at the dog. Let's listen in for a minute.
Oh, I got Woody's leg wrapped around. Come on, Woody, get your leg out. Come on, Woody, get your leg out.
Very important to stay in contact with your team throughout this entire race to make sure that they continue to run smoothly. Here is Jim DeKoff now, looking to make a run and try and crack the top 3 here in the 6-dog sled race. And now we're at the finish line, and this looks like Doug Ebert coming in, and he'll cross the line in a time of 19 minutes and 19 seconds. A pretty good finish for Doug Ebert today.
This is Hans Rietz coming into the finish line. He's crouched down to help out his dogs, and his dogs look really good and sharp.
Rietz finished under 19 minutes in the run on Saturday. He's over 19 minutes this afternoon, but no doubt part of that is due to the wind out there on the course. Roger Cockrum making some adjustments to his team. He had them off the course altogether, but he's back up and running once again.
And the wind is really creating a lot of problems for the dogs here today. They're having a hard time picking out where the course actually goes. You see somebody's going to give them a hand, get them back on course, and help the dogs out. But that wind is really a big problem for the dogs today.
That's Rob Bryce wearing race bib number 4, and his dogs are moving again slowly, but they are back up and running again. Now, what we've got here, this is a pass situation, it looks like, and that's Grant Marsh wearing bib number 16, and he's moving by Shane Martin wearing race bib number 22. Martin pulls over to the side to let him go. And this is Jim Bartlett, who did reasonably well earlier today in the 10-dog 10-mile event, and he's pumping that sled hard to try and keep his dogs going.
Here we see Tony Fiala running along with his team. He's running a team of Siberians. They certainly aren't running quite as fast as some of the Alaskan teams.
Slow and steady, but they sure seem to be enjoying themselves out there on the race course this afternoon, despite the windy conditions.
Yeah, the Siberians are beautiful looking dogs.
This is Jennifer Peebles. We've got a camera on board her sled, and her team is now charging hard toward the finish line there. You can just see it to the left of our that camera position. And now she's coming around the final turn. Jennifer finishing 4th in the race on Saturday in a time of 19 minutes and 21 seconds. And this afternoon, she's 20 minutes and 10 seconds, so a minute slower, and that might hurt her chances to finish in the top 3 this afternoon.
Yeah, I don't know what happened out there on the course for her, if it was just the wind that was a factor or the tangle that she had earlier with the dogs.
And now coming across the finish line, this is Charlie Odegaard. And Odegaard ran 19:36 on Saturday. He crosses the finish line very close to his Saturday time, 19 minutes and 43 seconds. That's a pretty good time for today, but is it going to be good enough to make a difference when we combine the 2 days' worth of times? Matthew Chachka is coming in next, and Matthew's charging hard, and he's trying to crack the top 3 as well. He was 20 minutes and 37 seconds in his finish on Saturday, and he nips the tape this afternoon at a time of 21 minutes and 1 second. And it's not unusual to see racers come in a little bit slower today because of the heavy wind conditions. This is Alicia Cockrum crossing the finish line. She was 10th on Saturday in a time of 21 minutes and 7 seconds. Just 3 seconds slower today. She'll be happy with that. Very consistent run for her team throughout the 2-day event here in the 9th annual mail run at Lac La Biche. Let's check the day 2 leaderboard now. Doug Ebert, the fastest in Heat 2, 19 minutes and 19 seconds his time. Scott Howie, Saturday's leader, 15 seconds off the pace. We'll give you the totals in a couple of minutes and let you know whether or not that's good enough to win first overall. Let's check in with some of the competitors now and find out what conditions were like this afternoon.
It's really windy. Like my sled bag, I was wishing I had no sled bag because it was catching the sled and we were just off the trail practically.
Oh, it was pretty blowing. I have seen nothing. I forgot my glasses. So, my eyes are burning now. Hard to see everything. It was not so easy, even for the dogs.
Trail was fast where it was clear, where it was drifted on, it was a little slower and so on. But all in all, it was a good run.
A well-deserved meal for these tiny athletes. We're going to tally up the day 2 numbers here in this 6-dog sled race, and we'll be back with the totals in just a moment. Welcome back to Top Dogs from Lac La Biche. And while the competitors get set for the long ride home, let's tally up the results in the 6-dog race. Doug Ebert was fast enough on Sunday to overtake Scott Howie, Saturday's leader, and win by 7 seconds. Hans Rietz was just 19 seconds off the pace to finish 3rd. Let's hear now from the winner.
It seemed actually for the snow conditions with the wind and trail drifting in a little bit, it seemed like it was a fairly good pace for a bit of a softer trail.
And one quick look back at the 10-dog race results from this afternoon. Jim DeKoff was fast enough to beat the field. 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 19 seconds his overall time. 11 seconds faster than Charlie Ortegard. Let's get some final comments from Jim.
Today was, I thought we had a pretty good run. The trail was a little bit drifted in for the being first yesterday and first out today, so it was a little tougher, but I think we did okay. The team ran good. Yeah, I'm proud of them.
And with that, we wrap up the 9th annual mail run from MacArthur Park. Here's one last look at the top dogs from this weekend, thanks to the great people of Lac La Biche. On behalf of color commentator Lisa Palachuk, this is Al Stafford saying so long from Lac La Biche, Alberta.